What's going on, guys? I'm going to do a quick run through of what I had to do to get this LS running in my 86 C10. It won't be a long video, I hope. Just going to run through it, and if I need to go in depth any further on something, just let me know in the comments. Alright, what I used were ICT billet motor mount adapters. They worked out perfect. I got them set in the 1/2-inch forward position. Worked out perfect for my swap. Got them from Summit. Stainless steel eBay headers with V-band clamps. They're mid-length headers. They worked out perfect as well. Just had to grind a little bit off the block on this passenger side. The back block here wasn't much at all. Oil temp or oil pressure and coolant temp sensors. The ECU does not need oil pressure to operate, so I used an adapter fitting in the back of the block and a stock sending unit for 86 C10. Put it in there, and I did the same thing as well with a coolant temp sensor on the back corner of the head here, so I would have a coolant and oil pressure gauge inside the cab. Currently do not have a speedometer working. Radiator hoses are off a 2001 Sierra or Silverado. They fit perfectly. The throttle cable as well is off of a 2001 Silverado. Have to trim a little bit off the inside after you install it, but from the firewall out it works fine. Your transmission cooler lines, if you had a 700 R4 or maybe even a turbo 350, you can keep the stock lines. You just got to transfer your fittings out of the 700R or turbo 350 and unthread the ones that are in your 4L60 and then put yours in, so you'll still have the inverted flare fittings for your line. Let's see here. Yeah, I had to cut back in. I also forgot to add that the power steering lines off of this pump worked with my steering gearbox. They're still the factory lines off of a 2001 Sierra or Silverado. I can't remember what this engine come out of. So I think if you got an 84 or newer, you don't have to worry about changing that, because I think they went to metric. But 84 and prior, you may have to change that. I'm not sure. And I also forgot to state that the engine controller kit come with a tuned ECU, so you can just drop it in and run. Alright, back to the video. Go over here. We'll go over some more stuff when I can see under the truck. I used a Dirty Dingo transmission crossmember. It's hard to tell. No light under here. The factory transmission crossmember would have worked, but I bought this one so I'd have more clearance for exhaust. This is a stock drive shaft out of the truck. Splined right back up into the 4L60 because the 4L60 and the 700R output shafts are the same spline count. Fuel filter off of a 2001 Sierra with adapter fittings for 16mm to 6AN. So I could have a fuel filter for my fuel. Now I don't know if you can tell that. That is the stock shift linkage for my truck worked because the bolt holes I use for my mount put it pretty much back in the stock location, so pretty much everything under here lined right back up just like it would have with a 700 R4. Now for fuel pump, I used a Holley drop-in unit. I don't have a part number for it, but you can get on Summit Racing and look it up. It's a fuel pump hanger assembly. It's got a sending unit in it, fuel pump, 255 liter per hour fuel pump in it already, and you know, it works perfect. It primes up, and the sending unit works perfectly with my gauge inside the cab. So I don't have a speedometer working, but every other gauge that I have works. And let's fire it up. You can hear it priming up. Purrs like a kitten. Now I used a BP Automotive engine controller kit. It comes with a mass airflow sensor, 2 new oxygen sensors, and a torque converter control switch. Super simple to wire up. I use this junction block here for my constant 12 volts. I run it down into there. Switch 12 volts is your distributor wire. Starter wire is your purple wire, runs around the engine over to the starter. Fuel pump wire run down the factory harness where it goes on the frame rail, and then constant 12 volt for my inside is right here, run from the battery as well with inline fuses. I do have a exhaust leak I've got to track down somewhere, but it goes away once it warms up. But other than that, I mean, this is a super easy drop-in swap. This thing runs great. It gets better gas mileage and has way more power than that old 305 ever thought about having. Next thing is just to get the AC working. But thanks guys, and if y'all want to know anything more in depth, just leave it in the comments and I'll see what I can do.